staying in your own lane, I was inspired by the holistic psychologist. If any one of you follow her, I know I'm obsessed. Yeah. So she's great. So staying in your own lane versus not staying in your own lane. This is her kind of like codependent versus not codependent. So feeling not in your lane is feeling guilty or shame for wanting to do something outside of the relationship, for wanting to do something for you, for putting yourself first, for and I mean, there's a range in what that can mean, right? In your lane is having a diverse life outside of the relationship that strengthens and actually helps the relationship itself evolve and grow. So you're doing things for yourself, and then you come back to the relationship, share those things with that person, and the relationship actually benefits because both of you are doing the same thing. We don't have to do every single thing inside of our relationships. Having not in your lane is having a dynamic where there's a desire to control each other's emotional states, interests, or interactions with others. Okay, so the desire, whenever there's a desire to control, the underlying need that needs to be met is for safety. That person is wanting to feel safe because they feel insecure. Okay, so the actual thing that has to be addressed in these situations is that sense of security, that sense of self-worth, that ability to be sovereign and stand on your own 2 feet emotionally, okay? And that's where the co-creation will happen rather than the manipulation. And we know that something's a manipulation when it doesn't really feel good, the outcome of it doesn't really feel good. So like if you manipulate your partner into doing something for you, like you guilt them or you are passive aggressive or you like demand it, just basically it's a way that, or you pout about it, whatever you do to get the thing from your partner, when they give it to you, it won't feel that good. Like it just will be like, you're only doing this because I guilted you into it, right? Whereas if you joyfully ask for something in a co-creative way and you let them come back with the thing, then it feels like a co-creation. It feels nourishing, it feels fun, it feels exciting, it feels really good. Okay, so this is something that we're gonna go into learning how to do. Another question about stating boundaries with your partner. I don't like if you do X versus controlling their behavior. Okay, so there's a big thing with boundaries that comes up around it being kind of like an ultimatum. Like if you continue to do this, then this will be the consequence. And while that's almost there, it's more of a rooted in self-worth. Okay, so if it's not rooted in self-worth, it's coming from a place of insecurity. It's going to come from a trying to control their behavior rather than you standing up for yourself and being willing to take yourself out of the situation if you have to. Okay, so you want to be asking yourself, like, what would somebody who loves themselves do in this situation? How would they hold a boundary? And I always say, like especially with romantic relationships, think of how if your romantic relationship is treating you like garbage, would you put up with that from a friend? Like if your best friend treated you like that, would you put up with that? And it's not even a boundary as in like, I don't like your behavior. It's I don't like how I feel when I'm treated this way, and I won't continue to put myself in this situation. So if this continues, I'm gonna leave. Right? So and then that's their consequence. That's actually their decision whether they keep doing it or not. But the other thing is to ask yourself is, is this something that I'm just trying to control because it makes me feel insecure? Or if I felt secure and they still did this, would it bother me so much? Right? So it's like, if they came home and they were really angry and their limbic system was like all over the place and they were just like on a tyrant, and I get sucked into that, and I feel insecure, and I feel like it's taking me out of control in a way that I don't like. So now, to stay safe and to try to get that security back, I'm going to try to control their behavior. That's not a boundary. That's control. That's manipulation. Okay. Whereas if it's like, oh, I've done enough work on myself that I recognize that, I know why he's doing it, I know it has really nothing to do with me, and I'm just going to give him space and let him do it, or even like giggle at him from across the room, because I know it's not about me. I have the security and sense of self and value that I know it has nothing to do with me. So I don't even need a boundary there. Does that answer your question? Like the tip of the iceberg of that question? Okay, cool. Good question. Okay, so also the fear of saying no is when you're not staying in your own lane. And again, you're saying yes because you want to be a people pleaser, which is ultimately self-serving, okay? So I always say that in order to really trust somebody, they need to be able to say no to you, right? They need to be able to say no, because if they can't say no, then you never really can trust their yes, right? Because then otherwise they're all, this is fuckboy syndrome, right? They always say yes, they always make promises from high places, but they don't intend on following through. So if they were just able to have the self-worth to say no and be like, don't think so, can't do that, then when they do say yes, we know they want to, right? So that's staying in your own lane. Allowing harmful behaviors for fear of being left. So how often do we stay in situations because we just don't want to experience being left? I know I've been in that situation many times. Having healthy boundaries and self-worth. It's that, and again, that fundamental piece, it's rooted in self-worth. What would somebody who loves themselves do in this situation, right? Saying you make me is a big one of not being in your lane. There's nobody that makes you do anything. You bring to the table what you bring to the table. Okay, so if your partner does something and it makes you feel angry, that anger is being generated from you, right? From your history, from your conditioning, from you. So we have to own that part of it. So that's that self-responsibility piece. Holding each other responsible for all of our needs being met. I like the rule that your significant other can meet maximum 80% of your needs. There's that 20% they're never going to meet, and that's where you need your sisterhood. That's where you need your friends. That's where you need your parents. That's where you need your role models. They're not going to meet all of your needs, so we can't expect them to, but we're kind of sold that in our culture that they're supposed to. So it's not your fault if you think that they are. We just have to switch that conditioning. Resentment is the gateway into the subconscious. Again, it's kind of like resentment is like a desire that's rotting, and we can kind of see, we'll get into how to deal with resentment in a minute here. Okay, inability to feel good or safe unless the other feels good. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. The ability to hold that discomfort of disappointing somebody, of saying no to somebody, of having them guilt trip you, of them trying to manipulate you into getting their way, that's uncomfortable, for sure. A lot of sensation, again, comes up in the body. So we want to be able to hold that sensation of discomfort and hold ourselves all the way through, and remember the long game. Remember that overall they're going to respect you more. Overall, it's going to increase your intimacy and your connection and your compassion for each other.